Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Freshly Pressed. Today we have with us Joe Ellis from Orange Martini Comics. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Awesome. And it's great to have you here. So let's get right into it. So tell me a bit about yourself and what got you into comics in the first place. As a kid, what comics did you like? What did you read? You know?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been reading comics and watching cartoons. I'm an '80s kid, so I grew up reading comics, watching cartoons Saturday morning with the cereal, and sitting in front of the TV from like 8 o'clock to noon watching cartoons or whatever. And then in between the commercials, I'm reading comic books and doing coloring books. So that was kind of my first introduction into comics. Um, I started off Spider Man. I was a big Spider Man fan. And then toward the 90s, I really got into Batman. It was a little bit more adult, a little bit more violence, a little bit darker. So I kind of went from
Yeah.
Spider Man, huge Spider Man fan, to a Batman fan, and then as an adult, I really started enjoying everything, especially the independents as well. I liked kind of the offbeat stories, but also the mainstreams, of course, all the Batmans, and I'm a huge X-Men fan, and so
Ooh,
that's
nice.
kind of where I got started.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and and he was mentioning cartoons as a big thing as well. And it's funny that like just last week I was on another stream talking about the '90s cartoons, which is a whole thing in itself. All these anime inspired visuals with American storytelling, which was like a fun time to watch cartoons. Actually,
Right?
'80s and '90s were amazing. Yeah.
That's like the golden age of cartoons, man. I'm telling you.
What were your favorite cartoons when you were growing up?
Oh my God, growing up, man, always the Super Friends. I was always waiting for that next Super Friends to come out. Always in the '80s, it got a little bit more adult when I got into the '90s because then they started with the Batman animated series and the Supermans, and then you end up with the Justice Leagues. But like back in the day, man, I was just a huge fan of like Bugs Bunny and stuff, and all
Hmm.
those just cool cartoons, the Jetsons, Flintstones, all that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hanna Barbera had us all, hooked up to the
Right?
Cartoon Network all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I got to give a good mention. You got to give an honorable mention to the He-Mans and the GI Joes, the Transformers, the Thundercats, the Voltrons. Man, we had it good back then.
We
So
had it good, absolutely. Yeah, I do remember Voltron so vividly, like even as a kid. Are you? I think they were in roughly in the '90s, like early '90s, but Centurions and all the other other bits that came out at that time.
hmm
I know they had a very short run, most of them, but they were all still pretty like Captain Planet, and there was so much fun. So yeah,
oh yeah, oh
yeah,
yeah, man. Even the stuff like Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers and stuff, man, all that stuff was good. I'm sorry, but it
so good.
was.
It was, yeah, yeah. And the best thing I think about the cartoons at that time were like they were not shy of going towards the brutal side. Like they were not like they did go for it for good. And like today, I think it's much softer, like the whole cartoon scene compared to what we had in the '80s and the '90s.
I agree. Even as an adult, when I go back and watch like the Flintstones and the Jetsons, and I go back and I watch like the Bugs Bunny cartoons and all those, there's some adult stuff in there, man. We just missed it because we didn't know no better. But there's some really adult conversations happening there. So
Yeah,
I don't know how they got away
absolutely.
with that. I guess back then you could get away with it. So
Awesome. So yeah, going further into about yourself, like what got you interested in writing, and how did you get into writing comics?
as far as writing in general, I've pretty much been writing my entire life. I had a ton of writing classes when I was in college. I've always loved writing, but for some reason I never connected it to comics. Even though I was reading comics, I never, for some reason, just never connected until probably like 2017 ish.
Hmm.
I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and she was like, "Hey, why don't you just write one of your own?" And I'm like, "Man, I never really thought about that before." And that's kind of where it started. That's like where the bubble kind of went up in my head. Like, okay, and I started thinking, and I didn't put nothing, on paper until 2018. But I think the thought started in 2017.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what did you like? Did you already plan the whole arc in advance, or like do you how do you go about writing your stuff? Like, do you write characters first, or do you plan your arc to a particular, like like say 5 issues or something, or 6 issues? How do you go
You
about
know,
that?
it just kind of came. I just started writing, and as soon as I started writing, I just let it flow. I didn't have any game plan. I didn't like, oh, this is going to be 6 issues, 5 issues. I just started writing. And then once I had a whole story, I started, editing it, starting to putting it down to different chapters, different issues. And it turned out to be 6 issues. But I guess I started with the characters, and then from
Hmm.
there I put them in the. I started with the main characters, and then I added characters as I was going along with the story. Like, okay, I need somebody here to do this, so let me add this character. But it really started off. There was no master plan, man. I just started typing, and then I just saw what happened from there.
That is so amazing, because I think I love it when it just flows, like the whole um yeah, the whole channeling of that energy, and then yes, once it just flows, you just keep going. Yeah, very true.
Yes, very natural.
Yeah, very natural. It happens to me sometimes. Like, I think I was trying to write a screenplay a while back, and then um I was struggling for at least few weeks till the time, like, it just hit me one evening, and I was just like, I think I'm going to do it this evening. I just sat for a couple of hours, finished it off. Like, it was just that straightforward. Like, it
Wasn't
just
it
came to me
beautiful?
one evening. It was so good.
It's so rewarding, man.
I know. Exactly. So that's brilliant. So let's get into some of your, like, some your comic, and like, what are the characters like, and what's the story so far, without spoiling it, of course. And what can we expect in this issue?
Well, no spoilers.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm an Indiana Jones. I love that genre, and I love the James Bond spy genre. So I wanted
Nice.
characters from both genres in this story. So that's kind of where I got started. Okay, I want an archaeologist type treasure hunter character, and I also wanted a spy type character. And then I threw in. I was a huge fan of the what was her name? The Warrior Princess back in the day, Xena the Warrior Princess. Huge
Xena,
fan of
yeah.
that. Yeah, so I wanted to put someone like that in there, and that's kind of where it started. And then from there, again, a huge Indiana Jones fan, so I really wanted to circle around treasure hunting and that whole, arc of trying to find the treasure, solving puzzles, people trying to take the treasure from you. That whole thing is really fun to me. That whole fantasy element. So that's kind of where I got started, and I kind of started building the character from there, and the story arcs. But basically, I mean, long story short, this is a story about a guy who is an archaeologist. He decides he wants to quit his boring day job because it's not enough adventure for him. So he decides he's going to be a treasure hunter for hire, and he's hired to find this treasure called the Mask of Metamorphosis. and he's got to
Mm-hmm.
go to this island to find it. And he gets there and finds a guide to kind of help him. And actually, initially, I did this whole arc about him trying to find it, but then what I
Mm.
found out as I was writing it was like the more interesting stuff happened after he found it. So I didn't go too much into detail in the beginning about him like finding it, but once he finds it, that's when everyone comes off the woodwork trying to take it from him, trying to kill him, trying to trick him, trying to do everything they can to get this mask from him. And that's when we
Yeah.
meet our bad guys. And I got a guy called Urkon, the headhunter, and he's a badass. He wants the mask for his own personal reasons. He's got a couple. He's got a witch by his side. He's got a giant enforcer, a giant looking lobster dude by his side, and basically you put it all together and you mix it up and it just all hell breaks loose.
Wow, that's amazing. So yeah, what's where are we at with issue three? This is issue three, right? The one that we're talking about right now. Yeah, go.
Yeah, so 1 and 2 are already out on Amazon. They're at a couple different comic book stores. Issue 3, we're doing the Kickstarter. It's actually going to start next week on Tuesday, and we're trying to raise some funds for the production of issue 3, because anyone who's ever made comics knows that it's not cheap. You got to hire artists, you got to do the shipping, you got to do the printing of the book. There's a lot that goes into it. So basically with issues 1 and 2, I was trying to build a fan base. So,
Mm,
because you can have the best book ever, but if no one hears about it, then, what are you going to do? So
yeah.
I think building the fan base is probably just as important as your story. So I'm hoping I've built at least a decent fan base where I can kind of get this campaign successful. And then we'll move on. There's 6 issues total, but right now I'm concentrating on issue 3.
Awesome. That's amazing. So, can we expect a lot of action in issue three, and lot of like mythical stories and tales and about like tales about ancient stuff?
Oh man. Oh I'm so excited, right? Because I'm building this story. So anyone who's read the first 2 issues is building character building. So issue 3 is really when, because right now I'm just building characters. I want you to know about them, what they're about. Issue 3 is really when things start really getting hopping. You learn a lot more about the bad guys and what their motivations are,
Mm,
and there's a little bit of witchcraft in this, and I wouldn't call it a superhero book because there's no one in capes or anything like that. But I have a witch that has that uses black magic. One of our
right.
main characters, Layla, she has the ability to transform into a an armored warrior named Eclipse. So you'll get a big battle scene with Eclipse. I have a one of my main characters. His name is Agent All Star. He has nanotechnology. He's able to form weapons with his bracelets. So you're going to get a lot of different fights with different weapons. And then you have the archaeologist turned treasure hunter. His name is Donovan Chase, aka DC. He's got a bunch of names, but he's basically going to be. He has a pocket watch that can stop time, and that's going to come into play. That was a big part of the story. It's like this guy's got a pocket watch that can stop time, but how can I put that in the story to make it more realistic, to make sure that I don't have any plot holes. That was a huge part of me writing this story. So people will see in the next chapter how he can use this watch. There's also disadvantages to using this watch, and you get the whole shebang.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Tell me about this. Do you enjoy writing your villain characters more than your hero characters? Because I think a lot of people do, because they find it fascinating, like to like create these villains who are so like so amazing, so badass, so really um what do you say, like larger than life, right? Like more so than the heroes, because that gives you the real impact in the story. So yeah.
I think the villains. The thing is with the bad guys is they can do whatever because they're bad guys. So you can make a bad guy, you know, slap a baby or I mean whatever, But like they're the bad guys, so like they can do whatever they want. To where the good guy, you want to keep the audience cheering for the good guy. So there's a lot of anti-heroes right now. You see, especially in movies. So we're making anti-heroes. But to me, a good bad guy, man, if you don't have a good bad guy for your hero to fight against, then you're kind of dead in the water. So definitely with the bad guys, the villains, I always get a little smile on my face because they can say whatever they want and they can get away with it because they're bad and they can do whatever they want. There's no moral code. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. Very true. Yeah, those boundaries just disappear while writing the bad guys. Yeah,
yes.
that's amazing. No, I totally agree. I think that's probably why we have such rich gallery for all our favorite characters as well, right? Like Batman has such a beautiful rogues gallery, and same for Spider Man. Though, like in case of Spider-Man, a lot of them are just robbers, but they're still pretty amazing, like with all their powers and everything.
Oh yeah, especially for me, like especially the X-Men as well. There are
Hmm.
so many like bad guy mutants, and they can just get away with just killing people and doing all kind of crazy stuff. And it's just
Yeah,
it's very nice to read, and when you can write that kind of stuff, it's very rewarding.
yeah, yeah. I think what you did mention about like people with villains with gray shades now like getting more popular is I think it's kind of like sign of times as well. Like people do want more nuanced stories at times. For example, like Thanos is such a nuanced villain. I know Thanos is a very classic example of like how a beautifully written villain just changes the story game altogether, right? Like so, especially in like the movies Thanos, not the comics Thanos. Comics Thanos is like out and out evil. uh, but yeah, movies Thanos is like more nuanced and like more like a eco terrorist kind of guy, right? Like he wants to do the right thing the wrong way. So, um, yeah. Who else?
I think with villains, at least for me, the main thing with villains is they should have a reason why they're doing things. As far as I don't like, just a mustache twirling. I want to do this just to take over the world type villains. Because then it's very one dimensional. But when you have a villain like a Thanos, he has a
Mm,
reason he's doing, what he's doing, and he thinks he's right. And what he's doing in the Avenger movies. So that kind of makes you be like, this guy might have a point. You like
yeah.
I don't know if the way he's doing it is right, but this man might have a point about what he's trying to do. So I think if you give someone a villain to a reason why they're doing what they're doing, the audience can connect with them a little bit more.
Absolutely. Like I even the one I loved even more than Thanos in the whole MCU was Killmonger because
Mm.
he was doing it for the right reasons, and it went ahead and changed T'Challa's perspective altogether on things, right? Like his like he genuinely T'Challa genuinely felt that point and changed himself and the direction he was going in. So because of Killmonger, and that to me was like, wow, that is a beautifully written villain.
I mean, right? Like if you look at
Yeah,
that dude in that movie, it's like, okay, wait, you killed his dad and you left him to grow up by himself.
yeah,
So I could see how, he would come out with a little bit of an attitude like,
yeah,
I deserve this. Y'all took this away from me. That's a perfect
yeah,
example of someone. It's like, I get it, man. I might not agree the way that you're doing it, but I understand. I understand,
yeah,
man. I get
yeah,
it. So,
yeah. Exactly, exactly. Awesome. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about, like, I like to put people on the spot sometimes and ask them,
Okay. Okay.
what are your top five pop culture things? Like, what do you something that may inspire your work, or maybe just you love, like just love watching, or maybe a comic if you love reading, or a book, or a movie, or a game.
I can give you top 50, but I'll give you top five. Let's see. One, like I said, is always the Indiana Jones franchise. Even though I wasn't really a fan of the last one, actually the last two, but the Indiana Jones franchise, the first three, man. I mean, that made my childhood. That kind of that was kind of the basis for this book. So definitely Indiana Jones. As far as a video game, Tomb Raider, Uncharted. Again, those are adventure games. Searching for treasure and all that. I love those games, especially Uncharted. I think the way the main character in that one, Drake or whatever, I just love his sense of humor. He's a regular guy. He's wearing jeans. Like, he's just a regular guy. He's got a sense of humor. He has a sense of adventure. So definitely Uncharted. As far as comic books, I don't know if you've ever read the comic book or seen the movie Wanted. I think Mark Miller did it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That comic book, man, again, that was kind of off the beaten trail. That wasn't like a Marvel or DC. It had a lot of violence, a lot of language in it, but it was such a good story. And even though the movie didn't match the comic book, I still
Nobody
enjoyed the
comes.
movie. It was completely different, but I don't know if you could really do a straight up movie that's like based on the comic, man, because there's some crazy stuff that
Yeah.
happens in that book. Besides that, man, what else? Besides that, as far as pop culture, of course, the Marvel movies,
Mm.
specifically Black Panther. That was an awesome movie. The Iron Man one. I enjoy all the Marvel movies for the most part. Even the Avengers, all those they all go into. I'm a big fan. They all go into my inspiration for writing.
Mm. Let me ask you a slightly controversial question. Do
Uh
you think
oh,
they should recast T'Challa? Yeah, I think so
I
too. Yeah.
do. I mean, the way I saw it, it seemed like at the end of that movie they introduced his son. So I'm assuming that somehow they're going to make it to where his son, I don't know if it's going to be a fast forward or they're doing this multiverse thing. So maybe he's from another universe, whatever. But I think they introduced his son to be the
Mm.
next, the next Black Panther.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's probably how it worked in the comics as well for a long time, right?
Yeah.
They just passed it generation to generation, or maybe they find another person to pass the mantle to, rather than just the same person being. Yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
makes
they
sense.
got they got some work to do. Marvel's got some work to do on that whole multiverse thing, but that's a whole nother topic.
Ah, don't even talk about this current phase. Phase four was such a mess. Yeah, but I did like parts of it, but overall it was such a big mess. Like, I was like, what's even happening?
I don't think they knew, man. I mean, it's just so disconnected. It's like Marvel trained us with the movies. They've trained us. One, they've trained us that their stories are going to be connected. Two,
Mm,
they trained us that there's going to be a big bad guy at the end of the phase. And three, they trained us that there's going to be an after credit scene that's going to lead to down the road. And I feel like in this last phase, they forgot all three of those. And after they've
yeah,
trained
yeah.
us for all these years, so now I see people like hanging out after the movie, waiting for the post credit scene, and then they're disappointed because it's like, what?
There's
Like, what's this got
nothing.
to do with anything? So they I think they just kind of they forgot their own rules. This is how they trained
Yeah.
us as fans. So you got to get back to that.
Yeah, yeah. Or, like, I think they do need a big reset. Maybe this is a good time for the big reset and say, let's just change everything, because that's what I felt Phase 4 is going to be. Because after the big Avengers Endgame movie, I felt like they're just going to like put a big reset on the existing universe, and then carry on the characters that were introduced for the next phase, right? Like, for example, Anthony Mackie's character, and there's like so many characters, like who else was there, like Winter Soldier and Falcon, and they I think those guys were going to carry the mantle. Or and even like if you've seen the show Hawkeye, they
Mhm.
introduce they introduced the next generation of Hawkeye, right, already there. And so, like, just passing that mantle to the next generation, and then they come together and do something. But like, it just felt so disjointed, because like you said correctly, it didn't feel very organic, the whole phase. And
I,
yeah, I know they were trying to build up Kang, the Conqueror, but the way they did it, introduce him in a TV show rather than a movie.
you know what, man? I'm old school. I know things are different now. Like big stars can do a TV show now and all that, but I'm old school. I think when you introduce somebody on a TV show, it's not the same as introducing them in a movie. I think when people see it on the small screen, it's not like if I would have saw Thanos on a Disney Plus show,
Yeah,
fighting Hawkeye or something. There's no way I would have thought how big he was just seeing him on the big screen. I think you take your minor characters. You can do like a if like they want to do a Young Avengers. Man, do that on Disney Plus. That's Disney Plus all day. But like your
yeah,
bigger characters, man, you got to keep them on the big screen so that people will pay to go see them. They're special. So,
yeah,
but that's my opinion. Yeah,
exactly.
I don't. I
No, I agree 100% with you. And like, they did the same with Thanos, right? Like you said correctly, they had their own rules. They kept like pushing the Thanos thing at the end of every single Avengers movie. And like, that we knew that Thanos is coming and he's something big. Why don't do the same with Kang? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
I don't know, man. And he already got beat up by Ant Man. So it's like, all right, this dude got beat up by Ant Man. Like, am I? And he's. I like. Do I really think this is the big dude after Ant Man whooped his ass? So I don't know, man. But hey,
Yeah,
hopefully they know what they're doing over there, man. So
well, now they have to do something about it. They don't have Kang anymore, or maybe
mm,
they'll recast Kang. Who knows? But yeah,
they might. There's a lot of
yeah,
negativity now. So man, I just hope they can right the ship because again, I'm a Marvel fan, so I don't want to see bad movies. I think there's
yeah,
some people out there who they're hoping the movie's bad and they're hoping that's not me, man. I'm a big fan.
no.
I hope DC is good. I hope James Gunn does his thing with DC. I hope Marvel does gets back on track, and I hope coming up I'm excited again, and these movies are back to being what they should be.
I 100% agree. Like, we've grown up with these comics. We would like people like you and I. Like, we would just love to see these characters come on the screen and just have a good time at the theaters, right, at the movies. So, I've had such a great time just watching the first two or three phases of Marvel. Like, wow, I just want to keep going. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right? I don't know. I still remember the first time I saw Avengers Endgame. He went out with that big battle scene at the end. Oh my man, I still remember. I'm gonna be 90 years old and still remember that moment when I saw that Avengers Assemble. Man, come on,
Goosebumps,
man. Goosebumps, man.
goosebumps.
Man, there was grown men in the theater crying. I saw it. They was tears coming down their eyes. I was like, man, this is the pinnacle right here. So it's like they went
Absolutely.
to giving us filet mignon and they went back to giving us cheeseburgers at McDonald's. They need to get back to the filet mignon. And then
Absolutely.
we'll be happy. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, tell us a bit about coming back to the campaign and trifecta. Tell us a bit about some of the rewards and reward tiers that you have planned for this campaign. Like, what are what are the special things that fans can actually get from this campaign?
Oh man. All right. So I have to me, I mean I'm biased, but I think I have one of the greatest artists um on God's green earth right now. His name is Rocka Elizer. He's in Venezuela, man. This dude is talented. So we got some special first we got some special covers that are only available on Kickstarter. I'll end up putting them on social media, but they're sketch covers that he made specifically for Kickstarter. There's a couple of those. We also, for behind the scenes, this dude is such a good artist that we're also going to be offering a sketch book, which is going to be behind the scenes like concept art, line art, sketches. So you can actually go through and see how me and him communicated, because I'm communicating with him how I want these people to look and how I want their weapons to look and how I want the scenery to look. And so you can kind of go through that. You can see how step by step how we're developing these characters and their looks and developing what the island should look like. It's really cool. So we'll be offering that as well. Plus, the big thing, man, what I'm really proud about is that since I'm on issue 3, I can make like a mini graphic novel, trade paperback. So I'm actually going to put these 3 issues in one graphic novel, which is half the story. And I'll be able to sell that in just one beautiful book, which I can't wait, which will have its own cover, which will allow me to sell it in like Barnes and Noble and places like that. So I'm really excited about that. But those will all be offered as special incentives and Kickstarter
Mm,
exclusives.
that's really amazing. That's really good. I'm actually looking forward to Volume 1 because then I, for whatever reason, I think it's also it's shelf space, and if I have to collect a paperback, I try to wait for the trades. Um, and I know it's not the best thing for the creators because like I I don't back paperback till then, but I do back digital. So like I do back creators till then. I do back digital, and I know which books I have to collect. So then I can just buy trade paperback. So yeah.
There's a lot of people like that. They're like, okay, we'll wait for the trade paperback. I'm like, damn. All right.
But I still do support the creators by buying digital. So
Yeah, and we will have digital as well. Um,
yeah.
so that will be available. So I'm trying to give everybody, I'm trying to give everybody choices and options because I really want this campaign to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm crossing my fingers, man.
Yeah, I know. I like, and also the fact that like I have to get everything shipped to Australia, which is incredibly expensive.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, I do it on occasionally. I think I did it only to get the first issue of Cosmos by Advent Comics because I know Cosmos issue 1 is actually quite rare to find. So I didn't mind paying for that at all. So I was like, yeah. Have you read those? Have you read Cosmos at all?
I have not.
You must. It's definitely very good. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have to check. You know what? That's the cool thing about talking about comics. Like when I'm talking to people, people always recommend other things to me. And that's so cool because everything, I mean, of course, Marvel and DC are the big ones, but there are so many, what I've learned over the last 5 years, there were so many books and there's so many creators and artists out there. And it's like, man, you go to these Comic Cons and you see all the things that they got out. And it's like, man, this is really good,
I
you
know.
know? So I would just tell anyone, of course, you got your Marvel and DC. That's great, but also check
Mm.
out some of these independent comics, man. Like and the smaller publishers. There's some really creative stuff out there.
That's very, very true. And a lot of people, I think, find it, I think, especially in the superhero genre, like people find it hard to diverge from the mainstream stuff.
Yeah,
Uh, but the good thing about indie comics is, like yourself, people write genre comics and they write good characters, and it's almost like picking up like a beautifully drawn graphic, like beautifully drawn novel, right? Like, when you read
Hmm.
a novel or a storybook, it's about the characters and it's about the story and getting there, like just going about that whole whatever the characters do in that story. So I think most of the independent comics are about that, because a lot of indie creators they have grown up loving all these beautiful characters from the comics. They do add occasionally all these like superpowers, or like supernatural stuff, and all the beautiful things that they've liked. And it just enriches the story a little bit more. So like, according to me, indie comics are so much more fun to read. And also, I think, sorry, I don't want to be rambling for a very long time, but
Oh
I
no, go
feel
ahead.
like
Go ahead.
I feel like people bring themselves a little bit into the story, and that adds a little bit of authenticity. They bring the culture and they bring themselves a little bit more into the story, and I think that adds a beautiful, authentic layer to the story. um, yeah, that's what I feel, and that's why I've been loving reading all the indie comics that I've been reading. Like my bookshelf is full of indies now. So, yeah.
Me too. I think also, I mean, a lot of those stories, they're very relatable. Because like you said, they bring their own experiences into the comic. I mean, don't get me wrong. The other comics, I'm a huge Batman fan, but how many people are billionaires? So it's like, I mean, like you can't relate, like you can't, or you can't relate. How many people are aliens from other planets? Like you can't relate to that. But I've seen stories where indie comics where people are struggling, all kind of stuff, man. It's like it's very relatable, or they have relatable jobs, or they have relatable problems, and it's just it makes it an easy read because you can get into it. It's like I see myself in this, like I see where they're struggling here, or would this happen here, and it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Amazing. We're coming close to time, but before we go, I want you to take the floor and talk to the audience about the book, why they should back it, and when is it launching, and things like that. The whole spiel. So just take the floor and talk about your book.
Right on, man. All right, I'm gonna give you my best pitch. What's up, comic book fans? Again, I'm Joe Ellis, and I'm over here in Long Beach, California, and I'm trying to live my comic book dream. Trifecta. The first two issues are out. The third one on Kickstarter. It is launching next Tuesday. We're going to have some great exclusives, as I just discussed. I'm going to be giving you updates all the time about what's happening with it. I've been doing signings, I've been meeting people, and I've been talking comics with people, just like in this podcast. And, we're all lovers of comics, and, we all want to see it thrive. So I would just say, if you can, check my book out. If you like Indiana Jones, if you like Uncharted, if you like The Mummy, Pirates of the Caribbean, anything in that genre, you like fantasy, this book will be for you. Check it out. It's it'll be on Kickstarter. We're not asking for a crazy amount. We're asking for a good amount for these books. And everyone that backs the Kickstarter, they're going to get something for free. I'm not going to say what it is. You'll find out. But everyone who backs it, even if you back it for $1, you're going to get something free, a digital download of something, which is great. So just check us out. And, if it's for you, I appreciate it. And I'll catch you down the road at a Comic Con, at a signing, or somewhere down the road. But, I'll see you.
Amazing, and it is beautifully drawn. I've seen some previews from previous issues and this one as well. So, and I also got some recommendation from other of your comic from some other fellow comic creators as well. So yeah, go for it,
Oh, nice.
everyone. That's a great campaign to watch out for. Hit the notify button and back when it launches. So Thanks for coming on the show, Joe. Appreciate your time today, and yeah, all the best for the campaign.
Thank you. And I just want to say I appreciate you inviting me on your show. And I saw, I'm a fan. I've seen your other videos, man. So, thank you for what you're doing. You're bringing creators to light. You're giving people like me a chance to explain what they're doing and to advertise their comics. So, thank you for that as well.
Thank you so much. I'm so humbled. Amazing. Thank you so much, and see you all on the other side.
Take care.